All right, Shalom. I want to start out by giving all praise, honor, and glory unto you. How by Shemal Shah by Shemakakodash. Double honor to the apostle and elders of great millstone. Shalom to all the Akim out there pushing the word of sincerity and the truth. Yeah, I want to do a lesson on these proxy wars. I'm on the Blacklisted News. I go onto the site a lot to go into current events, different things that are taking place on a worldwide spectrum, and expound on, things as such. But it says some of the weapons delivered to Ukraine will be used against the U.S. The tension of these countries are brewing. We all are familiar with the war in Ukraine right now. The campaign that Russia has executed against Ukraine. And we see that United States is backing Ukraine 100%. They're not, what's the word I want to find? They're not being vague about their decisions of backing Ukraine. They're full force. They're putting a lot of money, into this war, and it's going to lead to something bigger. So I want to read this article. It says the U.S. and its proxies in Europe are moving an enormous amount of weapons into Ukraine. Yeah, and I thought that was a pretty heavy thing for them to speak on proxies. I never considered it of such as United States is making this as a proxy war. The scriptures speak about there should be wars as well as rumors of wars. So proxy wars are kind of, I don't know brothers are familiar, but I like to explain. But proxies are kind of like third party wars. It's not a direct war the United States is engaging with Russia, but they're backing this party, which is Ukraine, to fight this war. And usually proxy wars lead the ones that's financing the wars into a direct conflict. So, hey, we here, man. It's only a few stages left, steps left until the major thing kicks off. But it says, but no one has an idea where those weapons will end up. It is likely that many of those will proliferate outside of the Ukraine, and some of those weapons will inevitably hit those who now deliver them. In a review of the United States war on Syria, Aaron Mate details how the Obama-Biden team empowered terrorist networks in Syria. Yeah, that was really big. A lot of these different terrorists, and a lot of these different, well, I just use that for lack of a better term, terrorist organizations. We know that America was enabling them, So it says, based on declassified documents, news reports, and scattered admissions of United States officials, this overlooked history of how the Obama-Biden team's effort to oust the Assad regime in concert with allies including Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Turkey detailed the series of discrete decisions that ultimately led the United States to empower terrorist network bent on its destruction. The U.S. pushed an enormous amount of weapons into Syria. Those weapons did not end up with the moderate rebels the U.S. propaganda had elevated, but in the hands the most ideological, committed, and most brutal actors on the ground. Although the Obama administration claimed that the weapons funneled to Syria were intended for moderate rebels, they ultimately ended up in the hands of a jihadi-dominated insurgency. Just 1 month after the Benghazi attack, the New York Times reported, that hardline Islamic jihadists, including groups with ties or affiliations with Al-Qaeda, have received the lion's share of the arms shipped to the Syrian opposition. So I don't, it's a lot on this article, but we know things are ramping up, and we see how turmoil is being pushed on a major front, and everybody's lives are going to change before their eyes, man. The prophecies of this book, the scriptures speak about in the end that shall speak, and it's speaking loud and clear. These conflicts that most people want to downplay, and bat the eye at, it's going to start to come on your front doors. And we're stepping every day is a step towards military conflict. All right, every step day is a step towards World War III. That's why your gas prices is ringing off the shelf. That's why it's getting harder and harder to actually fill your refrigerator. You know, things are not. Every day is a new day, man. Every day is is a shift. You know, every day is a new shift, and I like to when I watched this one movie, it was called the Maze Runner. You know, it came out in the course of 2000. It was just not too far back, but one thing about that movie, it was pretty powerful. Every day was a shift, you know, shift of the maze, and I liken that onto America. There's always legislations that's passed. There's always edicts. It's always things that could be ratified or things that could be renewed into law. Um, to get closer and closer unto the end, and it boiled down in that movie to the ones that actually had their eyes on the prize, basically. You know, they had the feet on the ground, and they was actually studying the rule book to learn the algorithm to actually crack the maze. All right, so it's the same concept now. The men that actually have their eyes in the words of the prophecy, the scriptures speak about us to be within the midst of prophecy, study, you know, watch as well as pray, as it is written. You know, as we see these things continue, then we know that salvation draweth nigh. So this is Luke 21:9. But it says, "But when ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by." Yeah, so we seeing these commotions and we seeing these wars take place. But the scriptures speak about don't be terrified, man. You know? And we're not exactly at the end, but we know these things have to progress because we're close to it. Verse 10. Then said he unto them, nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. Yeah, and it speaks about prophets in Jeremiah 28:8. Their jobs are to prophesy against nations and kingdoms, you know, about destruction, commotion, calamity, you know. It says, and great earthquakes shall be in diverse places, and famines and pestilence, and fearful sights, and great signs shall there be from heaven. But before all these they shall lay their hands on you, and persecute you, deliver you up to the synagogues and into prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. And it shall turn to you for a testimony. Yeah, so we see, like I said, destruction, commotion, and all these different various kingdoms and places. We know that at the end all be all is going to be a major military conflict pursuing to Jeremiah 50, Jeremiah 51, Revelation the 17th chapter tells you that in the book of Daniel, you know, about the fall of this kingdom. All right, this kingdom being Babylon the Great. But as we see things progress, we see that these different nations are going to continue to fight against each other, you know, and they're going to put the troops on the front lines, you know. They're going to exhaust their military strength. It's already publications and documents going into Russia's new updated missiles, man. That's why it tells you in Revelation the 18th chapter, and I'll get that. At 1 hour, this kingdom shall be brought to naught. You know, America is digging a pit that they can't get themselves out of. All right. That's why I spoke about all this money. They're putting millions of dollars into Ukraine. Who's to say that, honestly, Ukraine and Russia are not siding together, you know, against the U.S., you know? Now, that's a conspiracy of conspiracies. I'm just saying, you know, and using these different, because America is one of those different countries. All these different nations that you think it is what it is, you know, is black and white. We don't live in a black and white world. We're at the bottom of the totem pole, man. You know. Now, I'm just saying that could be a thing, but at the end of the day, we know that the prophecy of this book has to be fulfilled, and we know that Russia is going to gain its momentum to be able to take on this powerhouse as we know as America, with the ability of various nations that have the power of the world in their hands to take topple this place over, man. You know, and it's all written And it's all gonna be come to pass because Yahweh Shema Shah inscribed it in the writings for the deliverance of the children of Israel. All right, and for the kingdom to come. It tells you that in the book of Ezra, that this kingdom has to be wiped away for the kingdom to arise on earth, man. Revelations 18:4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Most High have remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works, and the cup which she hath filled to her double. Yeah, that double is talking about a heavy, heavy judgment that's going to be rewarded unto Babylon the Great. How much she have glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she hath said in her heart, I sit a queen and am a widow, and shall see no sorrow. Yeah, that's why it's, matter of fact, I'm going to read that verse 8. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burnt with fire, for strong is the Lord power who judgeth her. Yeah, so when this destruction comes upon America, upon Babylon the Great, it's going to be a vicious one, man. You know, it's going to be something to awe or gaze upon, you know, and that's why the scriptures speak about such, you know, and the Most High Yahweh Shema Shah, you know, he's going to put this judgment on the earth, like I said, so that the righteous can be delivered out of this satanic demonic kingdom, man. You know, so as things progress, we got to prophesy and pray Yahweh shall bring more evil upon these times, because what, this world is full of foul, you know, individuals. It's just a foul, disgusting, vile world, man. You know, so I didn't want to make this too long. You know, as things progress, of course, we got to prophesy. We got to go into current events. We got to go to the news and the prophecies. You know, we, as it is written, like I said before, we have to watch as well as pray. So I want to end it by giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Shema Shah by Shema Kakodash. Double honors to the apostle and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom Amakim.